That's the centre of the bow, but I want to move it this way a bit to get this knot and bulge sort of into the grip area. I can't move it right down to there, else the lower limb would just be too short and I'd run out of length and I'd have a very short bow. But if I can move it down about an inch, then I think that should help matters. So if I sort of guesstimate it there, then measure from there down to that knock, and then there up to that knock, we'll see how much bow I've got. Because at 71 inches, it's still maybe a whisker long. That first yew long bow I ever made was 70 inches. That would be 35. Yeah, that would give me 70. So I'll go 35 up this limb and mark it out and cut a new knock. Yeah, that puts the end of the bow there. I was actually measuring tip to tip, but I'll allow whisker extra, but I'll just cut into this knot here, which is quite nice, just removes that. Cut a new temporary knock and then proceed again. I've got a lot of wood to take off, it just doesn't seem to be flexing much at all, which could be a bad sign, because sometimes the ones that just don't flex, you take off more and more wood and they still don't flex, then all of a sudden they just give up and go bang. But we'll see. There's a bit of funny shape in the bow anyway, it's got a bit of overall natural deflex, but people get so hooked up on set and deflex and oh, it's a bad thing, the sky will fall down. No, a little bit of deflex doesn't do any harm. It's handy on the tiller as well, because when you make a heavily reflexed bow, when you first try and brace it, the damn thing tries to turn inside out and flip on the tiller. So yeah, cut that off, file a new knock, take a bit more off it all along and get it back on the tiller. I've carried on taking wood off the back and belly, evening up the sapwood and such like, and I've got the string taut now by threading it through me magic ring, and you can see the string line's not bad, but it does need to come over to this side. So I just made a nice hard mark, nice thick pencil mark there, just to remind me, but overall it's looking pretty good. I'll put it on the belt sander just to tidy up the sides a bit, being careful to leave some extra width around where this knot is. But yeah, it's coming on. Yeah, a funny little dark area become exposed here. I've had that sort of thing before, where you get like a fault in a growth ring, and you can end up, if you get too thin there, you can end up with the belly sort of buckling up. You get the growth ring just bulges and tries to lift away there. So I'll keep an eye on it. I mean, it might be something, might be nothing. You don't know. I mean, the bow at the moment's going to be a bit thin and a bit wide for a long bow, but I'll be narrowing it, you know, to correct the string line as I go. I'll probably start picking out this knot a bit, see what it's like. Sort of clean it out, see how deep it goes, but I can't do much to it. I mean, that hole I might have to fill that, put a little peg in there, clean it out, put a peg in there, else that's somewhere where the wood can just collapse, you know, because this is on the belly, the compression side, and this is nothing there, it will just collapse and you'll get a pinch coming across here. So it's a case of, you know, fiddling and fettling, having a look at some of the features, digging out things. Hopefully all this pith will disappear. That big knot near the grip isn't a problem. I think we've got plenty of meat at the grip. But I noticed on the tiller, I mean I had it up on there again, and it's the outer thirds weren't really moving. So you got a similar line here, but it feels alright. Can't mark it with my thumbnail. And I think as it gets narrowed, that discoloration might disappear. But as I said, I'm taking down the outer thirds, reducing the sapwood and the heartwood, trying to keep them fairly even. It's a bit thick there. See where there's the knot, I want to leave extra width, but I don't need extra thickness. It just causes a stiff point, so I'll rasp away some of that. And there's no need to fill there because it's very solid. I might just put super glue on that tiny little central dot of pith. But yeah, keep nibbling away. Right, I'm going to have a bit of a dig around and excavate this knot because it's got no real strength, and here's a variety of ground down broken needle files that I use to dig out that sort of thing. So let's just you can see it's pretty manky. And it's so loose, it's certainly got no strength in tension, and it wouldn't be a lot of good in compression either. In fact, I might get a drill in there. This one's just like a little chisel. Really, I'm seeing how deep it goes, because if it goes beyond halfway into the compression side, then it will need filling. But in terms of tension, there's no point filling it, because the wood around it would just part. It's getting tougher. Well, you can hear from the noise it's making. You know, I might get a drill onto that. But often it can be, you know, solid wood in the middle, but with a ring of what would have been the bark that's got no strength at all. I'm sure some people would just whack a drill down there and stick a peg through, but I like to be sympathetic to the wood and try and leave as much wood intact, let the grain flow round it, just remove what's bad. So it's beginning to feel fairly solid. That doesn't go too deep. So it's probably a branch that's been either sawn off or snapped off or rubbed off, and the wood's just growing over it. And that doesn't go a significant depth. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. That one's not too bad. There's a few others I'll have to look at. This one seems more solid anyway. Well, perhaps it isn't. Oh no, it's going quite deep. That's my little tin of yew dust. I mean, some of it's from where the yew's been sanded on a fine to medium belt. Some of it from when it's been on a coarse belt. I mix up epoxy and put dust in. Then if it's a bit too wet, I move it over, add more dust. I mix it fairly dry, because when it's compacted into the hole, it sort of squeezes out the epoxy and becomes more moist. I've left that slightly recessed. Yeah, that will get sanded down and smoothed off. It's only just cheapo Poundland epoxy, which I find is quite good. It's supposed to be rapid, but it takes about 2 hours to go off, whereas I've found some other rapid ones are too rapid and go brittle. It just works. I mean, for structural stuff I'll use you know, an expensive decent epoxy. I've just cleaned out these 2 knots on the side of the bow to make sure they don't go too deep or do anything too nasty, and they're fine. And because in the middle of the bow, like between the sapwood and the heartwood, it's sort of neither in tension nor compression. In actual fact, it's getting slightly squeezed that way due to the, you know, the curve of the bow and the force on it. But it's fairly irrelevant. It's more cosmetic than anything. I'll just fill it with the yew dust and epoxy. Same with that one. The point of digging it out is to make sure it doesn't go right up into the sapwood, or conversely right down, causing a weak point in the heartwood. But stuff on the side isn't much of an issue. I mean, I'll probably pick that one out as well, just to make sure. Better safe than sorry. And there's a little one here that is just a depression really. Doesn't actually go anywhere, but I'll fill it for cosmetic reasons. Yeah, it's a wee bit knotty this, but at £40 or 45 it's not going to be under too much strain. Right, I've filled a few knots, and you can see I've taken it to a low brace now. And all of a sudden it's looking a bit more like a bow. And this 45 at 19. A little bit stiff here perhaps. And there's a bit of deflex at the tips anyway. But I think that's starting to look quite nice. And it's a healthy 45. I've pulled it to, well, nearest down at 50. Yeah, a bit stiff here still. But if I pop the string off, you can just see the natural shape of the stave. So, fairly straight, but you've got this deflex here. Hint of reflex there. But coming along. Like I say, I'm not rushing it, just enjoy the process.